Hi, my name is Poeartistry. I am excited to welcome you to James Poeartistry Productions. You are tuning into an incredible experience known as Poeartistry Gold, where we delve into the art of commentary, storytelling and poetry. We aim to bring you inspiring and thought-provoking content.
This is a Poeartistry Gold moment by the author James Lynch.
Hello, perceptive readers. Welcome to Poeartistry Gold number 85. This is Poeartistry Gold number 85. In this series, in this topic, I want to talk about the author, the novel, the film, Phantom of the Opera. This is a part facts, you see, to give you some background on it, and to also share a few thoughts about it that are not necessarily related in these facts, and telling you a little bit about the movie and the books. You know, as recently within the past year or so, there are still persons, even, of the younger generation, that will read the book, they will watch the movie or go to the theater. And it's interesting about the experiences. See, I really want to emphasize how when you really even talk to people, you see, without just the regular classroom environment, without just the stuff that go across your phone screen and your computer screen and things of that nature, you can still miss out on a lot of what the spirit was of this and that. You certainly can. How many of you remember that over the years, sometimes people would look at this individual or that individual and wonder why they viewed such matters in the way that they did? And in coffee conversations or private conversations, they would find out that it was the interaction with ones who had not only secondhand knowledge, but firsthand knowledge and experience with this or that. And so where other persons may have blown it off as just being one thing or a little thing, these, let me use the term, even sages. And so sages and, let me say this, wise women knew otherwise. And that's why sometimes even a person who may have been looked down upon, even treated very badly, these same persons who were outstanding members of society, whether their name was on plaques on the wall or not, would be able to look at this individual and just even make a little statement about, no, that person is just blank. I'm not going to fill in the blank for you, but the way that they described the person, when they said, no, the person is just blank, it was not derogatory at all. It was not the way that maybe the crowds or the cool people were even looking at it. So they can go to show you is you can have groups of people who can feel one way, and the consensus still isn't necessarily the way you should view and definitely not treat that individual. And sometimes it takes other persons who realize, yes, let me emphasize, it is not a popularity contest or means for voting on when to save a person's life. And that actually goes beyond just literally pulling somebody out of, you see, quicksand or anything of that nature. It goes even deeper, as I'm sure you know. Well, here are some facts that I just want to share with you, that Gaston Leroux was the author of the 1910 serial novel. And it was actually Andrew Lloyd Webber who turned it into a Broadway musical. See, later back in the 1980s. So the novel was written back in, or released in 1910. And let me tell you, it was actually a horror film made from that time. So it was a gothic horror novel. See, I sometimes think in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, that was the early days of science fiction where it dealt, a lot on that side of things. But it was literally meant to scare you out your seats, and it did scare people out their seats and things of that nature. It was a silent film, etc. And so in 1986 was when Andrew Lloyd Webber turned it into this musical ensemble that, man, went on to just affect many of the cast members and shows down to this day. The 80s, the 90s, as the United States of America continued to grow and prosper, you see, in business and capitalism and things of that nature, many people over the past 30 years have made it rich. And then, of course, we know about the difficult times and the bubble crashes and things of that nature. But what I want to let you know is that, see, even though the cost of living went up, the salaries were increasing in ways people were being able to be creative, even to find other ways that they could make money. And they were making money sometimes at times, which was still legal, in ways that showed their ingenuity. Was like, oh, this is the type of service that, man, people are looking for, and they were looking for it. So that's just another thought with it. But this is what I'm going to share with you. The story is set at the Paris Opera House, drawing inspiration from real events at the Palais Garnier, including a 1896 incident where a chandelier counterweight crashed through the ceiling. Whispers of a Ghost. It says the novel was also inspired by tales of a ghostly presence or opera ghost that was said to haunt the prestigious opera house. There are other facts about the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, how it was opened in 1988. Yes, a record-breaking run, and became the longest running show in the history of the Great White Way. The Great White Way. Financial success. The show has grossed over $6 billion worldwide and was a major financial success for Broadway in the theater industry. Massive audience. The musical has been seen by millions worldwide. Tony Awards. It won 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical and the Oliver Award for Best Musical in 1986. The Chandelier. This is under productions and technical feats. The famous chandelier that crashes down in the show weighs 1 ton and features over 6,000 beads. And so it goes on to talk about as well 230 costumes and over 111 wigs for the show. It required hundreds of costumes and wigs each night. Yeah. So a lot was put into the show. And there are other facts that you will find out. But what I want to actually share with you is the difference of some of the aspects of Eric. You see, that was the Phantom of the Opera's name. That you don't hear talked about too much, you see, through the years of the review, because it's more of the romance between him and Christine, and also the action, you see what I'm saying, that was going on, developing the story. But what I'm just going to mention, see, as I started off earlier, when I was saying the experience that a person can get from someone with firsthand information as to why this and why you shouldn't view a person like this, or even if you view a person in this way or that way, why you certainly shouldn't add burden to their plight that they already had in life. See, Eric was actually born with a deformity, and sometimes people describe, his face basically as being horrific or what have you. And it was just too much even on his own family to bear. See? Too much. So when he was old enough or had strength enough to run away from home, that's what he did. And he took as many different jobs and associations that he could took. He even went to one fair or carnival where, in one sense, it may look like he was being exploited for his horrific looks. You see, he was even called like the devil's son or the devil's child. And it just brought many people to come in and look and gawk at him and everything else. Yet, during that time, is I think some of the films may show it was obvious that he still had some type of talent that wasn't always readily seen. And still, even if he had this knack, he continued to develop it even more. He self-taught himself what he wanted to. And he listened to as many persons from different backgrounds, even gypsies. Now, you know what gypsies are known for. Gypsies are known for magic, crafts. They can actually pickpocket you too if they want to. At least back in the day, or what have you. So they had many different skills and functioning as they traveled around. So that was known as another part of his growing up, all even through his coming of age. He gained many experiences from the ridicule from these different jobs. He still picked up skills from them as he went from one place from the other. And he also learned from women. Okay. Now, I gave you this background to let you know that, sometimes people will listen to me. Remember, this is a fictional story, even though it was based off of, some of the real life things that Gaston Leroux knew about. See, when he requested payment from those owners of that opera house, you see, what people don't always pick up is what was the condition of the opera house before he came there, before he arrived there. See, in the variety of ways of the way that the story was told, there was actually a madam, a concierge, who, would actually, take in the payments, which really, by this time, very few people were coming to see the shows. Very few. It was like the opera house was going to be abandoned anyway. I mean, it's almost like, talk about spending pennies on a dollar for what it was worth. I don't even think they could get a penny, because nobody even wanted it. I mean, they barely, like I said, had people that would even go anymore. It had its time, even though it was a beautiful structure that could still be used, that nobody else really wanted to invest in, take interest in. So the madam, see, there's a couple of ways that this is told, because on one hand, if you look at one of the reviews or the films or the way that people do the show, it makes it look like that maybe she took him in from even as a little boy that barely knew anything. And so that's part of one of the, the stories, what have you. But the whole point is there are other shows like 2 or 3 or what have you that shows that no, he had already took an interest, you see what I'm saying, in observation of who he may be able to work with, you see, in that opera house. And then he did his ways of contacting that woman, you see. But I would say you could just watch it a couple of ways or read the book. This is what I still want to emphasize. The opera house was going nowhere fast. It was going nowhere fast. The owners, you see, the opera house would have just drove them totally into bankruptcy. You can give them fine credit for wanting still such this renaissance, this place of being able to entertain persons in this way or that way. I mean, let me tell you, they had the right motive. They, businessmen and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter, the way that the book is written, the films are told, the spirit of it is that opera house was going nowhere. So when he arrived at a young age with all the skills that were self-taught and continued to develop, he was fixing up that opera house behind the scenes, lighting fixtures. He was writing songs or plays that would just once again appear to this woman to give in this way or that way. And so it was through his songs, his plays, his ideas that those men, you see, all of a sudden the crowd started coming back in. It wasn't their ideals. They had the business sense, but it wasn't their imagination. Their songs, they're putting it together on how it could catch the people's interest. And so once the man, Eric, the Phantom, had already shown everything that he could do and that much more, he requests, which was really not, they put it as extortion, but again, he was requesting the fee of what, you see, they would have paid anybody else with these type of skills, the implementation and things of the nature. He was not requesting any more than what was really still due him. Even, you see, even from, I think this went on for more than a month or a few years. It's like, see, he kept his own books, his own ledger of what he knew he was doing, what he had accomplished. And let me tell you, those men who had owned the building and things of that nature, even though they were already rich but was going poor because of the pull on that house, you see, of pulling them down, that they weren't going to be able to maintain it long. Oh, they started dressing nice again. Oh, he made them rich. He made them rich again. Okay. So what he was requesting was showing some type of appreciation for what was really dead in the water, was going to be dead in the water. And now it was live and it was thriving. So, at first, you see, they just didn't, you see, really want to do too much to pay that fee. And so Eric started doing things to show them just how much if they really still wanted that opera house to stay in the condition that it was in, that, okay, without his services, then see what would happen, you see. And I meant through the Gothic horror part, he actually started doing stuff on purpose. But see, in his mind, the way that he was reasoning, it was like, well, you know what? If I wouldn't have put that there, then, you see, would it have been fixed in the first place? You see, so I'm just adding maybe some of my extra little review or commentary to it. But see, here is my point. Those men actually went on ahead and just accepted, you see, what the fee was, because they were still making more than enough money. See, and so it just went along with it. Now the problem came up when some other persons wanted to buy the opera house, and because of something that happened, I think because of the reputation, if you will, the reputation of that Phantom of the Opera. So you see how bad talk can end up. On one hand, people be appreciating what's going on, but then because of the negative talk and the slander about that Phantom that was in the opera, I think that still affected whether people sometimes wanted to buy the opera house and make it even more lucrative or what have you. But the whole point is, there were some men that did want to buy it and make sure that, you know, they could take it to the next level. And so what the Phantom was basically relating is that, you know, his fee, he still wanted his fee. He still wanted to be paid even when these new owners took over. And the owners, the new owners that was coming about, was almost like, you know, why in the world would you see pay this unseen ghost or what have you? And the men just basically were just saying, look, that's just what we had to do or what have you. And so that's where, you know, one of the conflicts came in. And then the other conflict came in where the Phantom already had seen Christine, the wonderful talent that this girl had that was always being overlooked. And he felt that she shouldn't have been overlooked. He was right in his mind to know that she shouldn't have been overlooked, but she was. So he did things about it to put her in the place that he wanted her in. Okay. And so, and see, it still turned out to be lucrative and things of that nature. But all the same, you know, as the drama and everything builds up, the clash of what some people call egos and things of that nature, all the same, Christine, see, the way that she was actually involved and understood, see, it was very understandable why she actually loved both men. Why she actually loved both men, you see. So what I just wanted to share with you is, in some of the later reviews, I told you even within the past years, some persons would mention how they just don't think that book should be, you know, even part of the classics or what have you, because they felt like it didn't fit some type of, you know how they, if it does this, if it does this, if it does this, this is what a classic is. You see that? Talking about standardization of what a classic is, what have you. But what persons sometimes forget is the way that Gaston Leroux, look at me now, I want to say it in the French way. Let me just go ahead and say Gaston Leroux had originally intended the book to be, it was to just be a gothic horror. And so for it to affect people's in their lives in that way, on that level, for them to still say, no, you know, this still, for the time period, the effect that it had on the society, this is certainly not just some scary sci-fi novel. And then what Andrew Lloyd Webber did, I told you in the 1980s, see, contributing his spirit, his talent to it, it goes to show that, yeah, the book is still certainly rightfully a classic, a novel, and it's another one that should always be accessed freely.